Welcome back to KeyDigital's Compass Control online training, where now we're going to go over the programming software. Now, for those of you intending to stop at the C1 system specification and sales portion of the certification, this is still important information. So stick with us here because you need to know what goes on with Compass Control in order to sell it right. Part of specifying the system properly, after all, is knowing your programming time and being able to estimate that programming time. Of course, you need to understand, for example, that this works in PC only. Now, some people do use Mac with VMware or Parallels PC emulators, but I'll be honest, we can't really support that because there are so many different setup options, and people have had problems with uploading their project to the cloud and downloading the project from the cloud, which we'll get into here in a moment. Now, fortunately, we're also at a time here where those what are they called? Personal laptops, the notebook laptops are behind us because we want you to have a widescreen monitor. Yes, your laptop should be fine as long as it's, again, not one of those notebook laptops, but if you could even connect your laptop to a monitor when you're going to be working for an extended period of time, that would be recommended. Now, the software for Compass Control is a free download, but you need to be C1 certified first. Now, that's all that's really required is the C1 sales and specification certification, so that you can, if you want to follow along while you're programming, go ahead and do that with us. So 5 total items in the Compass Control software suite. Those 5 items are the Compass Navigator, which is where you actually program your projects, okay? And what we call managers. There's the Master Controller Manager. That is where you load the latest firmware to your master controller and configure the IP settings. That's about it, actually. That's all you do in there on the current model master controllers. There's 3 more managers: IR, infrared, RS-232, and TCP IP managers. And in those managers, that's where you're actually able to create, edit, and manage your own IR, RS-232, or TCP IP commands. Yes, that's right. We let you create all of your own commands if you wish. There are a lot of control systems out there that do not let you create your own RS-232 and TCP IPs, and boy, is that frustrating, because our current library of commands has over 160,000 devices, but there's always going to be that one in your projects, of course, as the technology rapidly evolves, where you need to learn a remote or create an RS-232 command. So again, the software is free, the software suite, but you must be C1 certified. We have to hammer that point home because it is a fairly common question. So after you get your C1 sales and system specification certification, you'll just go to Compass Control across the top of KeyDigital.com. You have the banner, Compass Control, software downloads, and you'll see download Compass Navigator. But again, you must be C1 certified in order to do that. So there are some additional softwares that perhaps you will need, and that's going to be if you're using one of our KD Pro 8x8cc or KD Pro 6x6cc all-in-one matrix switchers with Compass Control built in. We'll get into more details on that hardware throughout the C1 certification course, but it is important to know that you might need that. It's not included in the Compass suite. It's also free, and in fact, you don't even need to be C1 certified to get these. The reason for that is because it is something that you may use even if you're not utilizing Compass Control to control this product and the rest of your integration system. You can use it to download firmware and set up the IP for the Pro 8x8 or Pro 6x6cc matrix switchers. Now, inside Compass Navigator, which again is where you build your projects, you have 2 types of projects. There's the module-based project. You will learn how to do that in the C1 programming, so the C1 Plus portion of our training. In the modular-based project, it's predefined modules. They're dragged and dropped into the program, and you're going to build a zone connectivity tree, which will then insert the correct switching commands, for example, on to the buttons you press as you press them. Automatic button mapping of all of the commands as well, and all this really cool stuff that makes these projects super, super simple and very, very customizable at the same time. We'll get into that. Also at Compass Navigator, when you start a new system, there is a custom project. This is for the folks that continue through to the C3 Pro training certification level, where your iOS and Android devices are a blank palette. You can actually drop modules into the program, as we'll show you in one of our in one of the C1 videos where we have the custom GUI teasers. But you can actually add smart devices, handheld remotes as well, because we, although we no longer currently sell our handheld remote, we did at one point in time have that. So of course that's supported across both of these project types. So looking a little more at a module, what is a module? Well, a module is not just a library of commands or a code set, okay? It is a code set that has a graphical package. Of course, all of those buttons that you see have the correct commands automatically mapped onto that. If you have a bidirectional module like a lighting feedback and thermostat feedback and metadata from an audio streamer, then of course there's a bidirectional driver that is automatically compiled and attached to the various graphical elements. So because of that, the modules, we have to limit what you can and cannot manipulate with modules, but you can manipulate modules. You would have to edit those modules themselves, not in the project, but the modules themselves, which we'll get into in the C1 Programming Plus portion of these videos. You're also able to edit your device selection macros and the main page and status page is what they're called. So you can actually place custom graphics on this thing and everything. There's a good amount of customization that makes this actually the most commonly handed over interface for Compass Control are the ones done using the modular program. So it's very important because when we build these modules, we're not just building them here at KeyDigital for just iPad or just iPhone. We actually develop our modules with all of the screen sizes in mind. So that includes the iPads all the way up to the iPad Pro size, the phone, iPhone 6 and 6 Plus are the current large models, for example. And now the Android screens, which are all sorts of different sizes and aspect ratios, right? So what we did was we added a few different tablet size for Android, a few different phone sizes for Android, and we added a brand new feature to Compass Control that works whether it's iOS or Android. That new feature is the auto scaling of, so say you program an iPad interface, you could actually load that into an iPhone, and of course it's just going to maintain the same orientation. That'd be landscape to landscape, for example, and it's going to auto scale that down and save our C3 programming pros a lot of time in their interface building, where you used to have to manually do that one by one if it for each and every screen if that were a custom project. And that's why we do this up front in the modules, because your customer is going to love the system on an iPad, and then they're going to tell you, hey, we went out and bought a new iPhone, can you add that to the system? And if you're using a modular system, all you need to do is add that iPhone in the project, and it's already going to have all of the information, all of the pages built. And you're going to be able to just load it up to that iOS device or Android device. So in the modular system, when you program it, how it works is by a zone connectivity tree. So please, you have to be organized and you have to communicate between the design side of your organization, the installation side of your organization, follow that connectivity guide, and finally to the programmer. They need to know what are the inputs for each and every video source, for example, in a distributed video system, and what output numbers to each zone. So however you communicate that, it needs to be done appropriately and effectively, because what happens here is when you build this zone connectivity tree, we could see here, for example, there's a zone called garage. And it has a video activity. It has lighting and security activity, for example. And when we choose the Blu-ray player by pressing that button, as you see on the iPad, it's going to actually not only show you this remote, of course, or almost like an app built in, but it also executes all of your switching commands, your macro for switching behind the scenes. So when we look at the connectivity tree on the left, in the garage, there's a television, well, the module is called All Models, right? And you could change the name of that. And you see that the AVR is connected to HDMI input 3. And the AVR has a Blu-ray player into input 1, the Apple TV into the gaming, and the TiVo into the SAT cable input. And see, we don't do that just so you could drag and drop these. These discrete inputs are discrete commands that we call. So the television has to switch to its proper input, and the AVR has to switch to its proper input. You might have matrix switchers, etc. on the front end as well that would all have to do their switching. And that is why the connectivity counts. So after you program this information through these trees, etc. By compiling the project, there's a file that's created that when it loads to the smart device, the iOS or Android touchscreen controller, the device is able to use that information and navigate, move and shake through the interface appropriately and send those commands behind the scenes. And you can actually edit those commands for switching and everything as well, which is a big, big benefit versus some of the other control systems. So importing modules or using the modules, we actually give you, every time we upload our Compass Navigator version, we actually give you up to date the latest module database that we create. Now, you may also edit our modules or even create new modules from scratch according to the Compass Control FAQ page and the guidelines we give you there, and you want to bring those into your system. Or you may download them from the Compass Control bidirectional control modules page. Now, why would they be there? Well, a few things. Of course, if we release a new module and it's in between software updates for Compass Navigator and Compass Software Suite, then it's going to be only available on the Compass Control bidirectional drivers page. The other thing that you have to think about is sometimes bugs are found in modules, that kind of thing. We update those. And so especially with the bidirectional device, I always go to the bidirectional modules page that we showed you in the C1 Part 1 portion of this video. Now, in the future, we also plan to have a KeyDigital module marketplace so people can host their modules there, and we can help proliferate that side of the industry and help support the people that support Compass Control in that method. So what else does Compass Navigator, offer for those programming pros that really want to get deep into this? Yes, they like modules and there's great bidirectional feedback there. Well, you could actually use those modules in custom projects because that's going to save a lot of work. Okay, that's one thing. Our GUI, when you build your own custom pages, it's built using drop downs. So you could grab a hold of an object like a group and you could manipulate its property on a button, for example, or even on a variable, any event in action. You could call things, whether it be a command or a graphical item, and then it's all drag and drop, drop down menus. It is not C coding. The only place you do C coding is in the bidirectional drivers. Now, we support real-time bidirectional devices over IP. You can have actually more than 2 maximum, but over the physical RS-232 connection, you have to stop at 2 real-time bidirectional devices. What does real-time mean? It means there's the master controller is always listening to that device to collect its update status and then tell the iOS and Android smart devices on the system, hey, now the volume level equals 60, and then they adjust their graphical element appropriately so that the user sees the status of the system. more on that in our custom GUI build teaser. Other devices, you could have more bidirectional devices, of course, connected to the master controller. IP, again, it's way more than two. We'll have to get that information to you. But you could have more bidirectional devices. They just won't be real time, meaning that you could actually, you have to manually tell us when to pull. Maybe you set it to be every 5 seconds or something for a device that's not so time sensitive, right? So through all of that, it's really an open book for you to create what you want through Compass Navigator. So that's your first look at Compass Navigator. Further down this C1 in the Programming Plus section, we'll actually program a system, and we'll see you there, and we'll see you in the C1 Part 4 next.